we are live. What's going on, Tim?
Hey, what's going on, dude?
So we're gonna, I believe, episode 12 brought Temp on because after the Mortal Kombat 1 reveal happened, we didn't get some sort of gameplay whatsoever. It was just a massive theatrical and very highly detailed as far as like the cinematics and the CGI goes, but there was a little bit of a reveal on the gameplay. Now Ed Boon has came out and said that June 8th we're going to get the gameplay reveal at Game Awards, or not Game Awards, what's it called, Game Fest, and then we're going to get to see it. We're actually going to get to see what the game actually plays like. But on the website they talked a little bit about Cameo fighters, which is mainly what we're going to be talking about today. So Temp, what was your initial reaction to the reveal when you first saw the reveal? What's the first thing that came to your mind?
I think everything balances out back to neutrality for me, which is what I was going in with.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the positives I can say about the reveal was all the characters they revealed off the bat. So we know Katana, Melina, Sub-Zero and Scorpion, Liu Kang. What I'm told is Raiden. Kung Lao's no surprise. So that was cool. But I think a lot of the neutrality comes from the idea that I expected a lot of that. I did not think we were going to get a Sub-Zero Scorpion battle and then see you in June. I did not think we were going to get that. They've been hyping this up too much. And also Boone does not like doing the same thing twice. So I think given the amount of time left between now and when the game was going to release, that was largely what I expected. I am in the minority camp where I do not think most of what we saw was CGI. I actually do think that is in-game story mode graphics.
So I agree. Yeah, I actually 100% agree with you there. So and the only thing though that would defer me away from thinking that way, it was actually the Steam recommendations, and the game is going to be 100 gigs to download, and currently with Mortal Kombat 11 I think it was like, correct me if I'm wrong, I think initially it was like 70, and then after the expansion it was 117, I believe. So 100 gigs actually seems pretty low for that much detail. That's the only thing.
It's a guess. I could be wrong, but I would attribute that to the new Unreal Engine.
Okay. Yeah, because it is Unreal Engine 5.
And the game goes into fighting game match perspective, which I don't think they would do if the in-game was not going to look like that. And it was kind of disappointing during the live reveal with the other hosts because I kept giving reasons why I thought it wasn't CGI. And there was just no responses. And they're like, well, the thing is, you're wrong. And I'm like, well, give me a reason. Tell me why my reasons aren't correct. Because
well, you're wrong.
They've never done CGI story. Like, and on top of that, I think there's this misunderstanding that the PS5 can't do graphics like this. And I'm like, I think the evidence is to the contrary. I think it can too. Yeah. Now, can it do it to this with like going back to the hard drive space? Can it do it with this much memory? Can it do it with for this long? Can it do it at 60 frames per second? Those are all valid questions, but my understanding is it can look that good.
Yeah, and it can 100%.
And if it can't, it's not going to be the fidelity that takes a hit. It's going to be the resolution. So it would still look like that, but it would look like that at 1080p. So that's kind of where I'm like, I don't know. So yeah, we'll see. It's on a point I want to push too hard just because like it turns into a game of my dad can beat up your dad until we have gameplay. So June 8th, I'm either going to pop off or I'm going to eat my shoe. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. And so initially, of course, like I think everybody did just on that first initial release, everybody was super hyped. We finally got something. This game has been teased more than any game I've ever seen in my entire life, which is to be expected. That's just kind of the way Ed Boon and NRS works. they're not very good at communicating, or I don't know if it's because they want to or it's because they can't because WB said so, you know, in the way that, like, you know, Bandai Namco and Capcom, they're just like, hey, this is what we're doing, and they just give you all this information and everything. It's like Tekken, almost every major event that's happened, like every chance they get, they're like, here's a new character, you know, like every single time. And that's kind of something I wish NRS would do. Just every chance you get, it's like, you know, give a new, you know, show us a new character, show us a new something.
This is the danger of potentially segueing into a different topic, but I do think people are incorrect in their assumption that because the game comes out in September, that we're just going to get constant news, and I do not think that's going to be the case. I think
even though Ed Boon said this is going to be a very aggressive campaign, and he said we're going to get
possibly,
because he did say we're going to get like a highly dense 4 months of information. So what that looks like to them may not be the same to you or I, but
what I think that might mean is, well, the best case, it could mean the best case scenario. We're going to get a character reveal every 2 weeks, which I imagine is what they would have to reveal the characters at if we're getting somewhere between 22 to 28 characters. We're going to see a reveal every 2 weeks. I think, but again, that's very vague. So what I think might also happen, and this is very similar to what happened with both MKX and to some extent MK11, is we're going to get nothing for like a month, and then they're going to reveal a story mode trailer that reveals like 5 to 6 characters, right? Like, I think that's also very possible.
Yeah, that could be very true. I don't think that'd be wise. I mean, it'd be
very unwise. I 100% agree.
I'm not one to, you know, I don't work in marketing, but as a consumer, I would be like, okay, every chance you get, please give me something. Even if it's little, like so far, like for instance, you know, I use Tekken 8 as an example. They don't even have a release date yet. I think they said they wanted to shoot for an end of 2023, but even Max Dude said, no, it's definitely coming in like maybe early mid 2024, but who knows? I want to say Eris said the same thing, but I could be wrong there too.
Eris is flip-flopped out of that. He's gone both directions, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, but anyway, the point is just every chance they get, they're like, here's a new character. And that's kind of something I wish they would do with NRS. Capcom was kind of the same way. Every event, there's like, here's 4 new characters. Oh, then they did that one trailer. We're like, here's the entire starting roster. Here's the entire cast. And so that got us even more hyped. Like Street Fighter 6 has been a year-long marketing campaign, and it's been a very successful marketing campaign. I haven't seen one time around when a Street Fighter 6 fan was just like, oh, we didn't get anything. Like, no, every single time we got something, you know?
There were a couple of pockets, but I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that the roster leaked so early on in the marketing campaign. But like I was the only one who was having a bad day back in September during the Tokyo Game Show stuff. I was so bummed back to that day because I found out the roster went from 22 to 18, and then I saw Blanca's face. So that was a rough day for me.
Oh, okay.
Everyone else had a great time. Everyone else was like, yeah, you're right. You are 100% correct.
Yeah.
Super hype.
It's kind of like how Max, you know, it's funny is like of all the people, and take note, by the way, we're supposed to be talking about Cameo fighters and gameplay, but
yeah, I was worried about that. That's my fault.
It's okay. No, I followed you down this rabbit hole, but anyway, I think Max Dude is like the only, like he and his panel were pretty much saying that they didn't like the trailer, and I think he's in the minority there, because so far I have seen nothing but positivity that has come out of the trailer. And on top of that, I mean, I think it was really wise for Ed Boon to say June 8th, you know, we're going to do a gameplay trailer. So it's like, okay, thanks for letting us know. That's perfect. And then he let us know literally a day later, or it was like 2 days later. So it's like, that's the kind of communication that I was talking about that I hope that they can continue doing. But I think Max Dude, I want to say he's kind of like him and his friends are kind of alone in that one, because it was very positively received. Now, take note, he is a gameplay guy. He's going to be all about gameplay. And you and I are very similar in that aspect, because when I saw the reveal trailer, I was not disappointed at all, but a little bit inside me was just like, okay, where's the gameplay though? And it kind of goes back to what you said earlier, when you're like, that possibly was gameplay. That possibly was what the game is going to look like.
At the very least, I haven't heard any good counter arguments to say otherwise. Just people saying, no, that's not true. And then they just cover their eyes and ears. So I would say I've seen both. I've seen actually a lot of both. I've seen some people who are just super hyped.
Yeah.
And then I see other people who are like, even on the Nethercast, it was largely like 5s and 6s. No one was really blown away. And even the June 8th announcement had a lot of people disappointed because they were so convinced we were getting something at the Sony PlayStation exhibition, which I'm glad they confirmed beforehand, but people were like, how could they do this? How could they do this to Paul's face? And I was like, well, okay, fine. You know, we have to wait till June 8th, but like we have a date now. And yeah, I think people wanted more.
I agree with you, because I was like I said, every chance they get, something. I mean, they could do something this weekend at Combo Breaker. I kind of doubt it, but they could reveal something. They could reveal some sort of character trailer or something like that. Because you can do you can do character trailer or gameplay or some sort of trailer without showing the Cameo fighter. You can do that. Might be hard, but
I don't know if MK11's on a main stage for Combo Breaker. That's my only reservation there. But they could do it. It's possible.
Yeah.
Like after the Killer Instinct top 8, they should reveal a Mortal Kombat character. That'd be interesting, but yeah.
And all of a sudden they show like, oh, guest character, it's going to be a Killer Instinct character.
I think the people at Combo Breaker just overall messed up for 2023. I think they dropped the ball hard.
How's that?
For one thing, they probably should have aimed for June to be in. They should have worked with the NetherRealm studio guys to be like, hey, when can we plan our event that would best suit your marketing campaign? Now, granted, I know if the Hado was here right now, you'd say you have no idea how far in advance stuff is planned. Fair be But I would have at least sent out those emails saying, hey, how can we accommodate your marketing that's going to be a win for our tournament and be a win for NRS? And I probably would not have had the tournament a week before Street Fighter 6 is released. I don't think that was the best idea. So, okay, cool.
That's very, that is very true, because I'm sitting there, because I mean, I've been going Twitter and everybody's discussing, have you uninstalled Street Fighter 5? That's actually a discussion. That's something that people are tweeting about. And I'm like, Combo Breaker is literally this weekend. It's like, who's actually going to, for one, who's going to compete in that? And I'm sure a lot of people are going to compete in that, but it's like, you're going to have the last Street Fighter 5 tournament a week before Street Fighter 6 comes out. That's where I'm like, you probably should have waited.
At most, it's a nice farewell, but we already had a nice farewell with, the Capcom Cup. So
we did.
We recovered on that, and
it was, dude. And Mena RD like winning. It was like, that was a fantastic farewell. That was perfect.
Yeah, that's a cultural win, because I mean,
it's a historical.
It's also
event,
like
dude.
A historical win, because like he had a rough time after the first time he won with all of the nerfs and everything. So good for him. But again, Rick Hado hacks our internet right now and jumps into the podcast and says, Temp, you do not know what you're talking about. You have no idea how far ahead we had to plan to get this venue, to get this date, put all this together. And which I respond, fair enough. I would have sent out the emails. I would have sent out those emails. And I mean,
it makes me wonder too, that they're like, same thing. It's like, yo, we sipped, okay. This upcoming weekend, what is it? The 27th through the 29th, I believe is, or what's the dates? That's coming. I'm sorry, I'm horrible.
Combo Breakers, no, you're good. I had to pull up a calendar. It's gonna be the 26th through the 28th.
Okay, so it starts tomorrow, right? Okay, yeah, I had to pull up a calendar because I'm terrible with dates. And then September 19th is when Mortal Kombat comes out, and I'm sure, like, how far in the past do you think they had that date set?
That's a good question. I imagine pretty far.
Yeah, so
I'm
they
assume it was at least a year in advance.
Yeah, they probably had that date set a long time ago, and then Combo Breaker comes along, and they're just like, "Oh, we need to get a date, we need to get a time, we need to get this, and all the different things and stuff like that." And yeah, they, I'm sure if you, they would probably come along and be like, "Temp, shut your mouth, you don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah, and that's fair.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for Rick. Not that I've ever met the guy personally, but as a businessman and someone who supports the community, good on him.
I mean, accomplishments are enough to gain someone's respect for sure.
It's just a shame that at the Chicago premiere event that more couldn't happen, and if it would be super weird if we did get something, just because like they only pulled 86 people for MK11. When DNF is blowing your game out of the water for entry, that's not good. That's not healthy.
Yeah. So yeah, I think this is a good segue to go into gameplay, since that's initially what we were supposed to be talking about. That's
yeah. Well, let's there's a lot that's happened, and I will just say one reason why it was also neutral is because the game ended up being what I thought it was going to be. Oh, almost. I was like 80% correct.
And what's that?
It was going to be Mortal Kombat. I originally said, my exact words were, MK12 will be a retelling of Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 with an alternate history molded by Fire God Liu Kang. That's what I originally said. I was 80% right. The only part I got wrong was the MK2 part. And they really hammered in the fact that I got that wrong. They called the game MK1. So all right, I'll take a third of an L. So, but other than that, it's like, this is exactly what I thought the game was going to be. And it's very hard to be surprised when you make a prediction like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was also, I imagined they were going back to basics. Everything was going to be more Ghost of Tsushima. I didn't know exactly how true that was going to be, but I knew it was not going to look like MK11. And yeah, it was a wheel reinvention, just like what we got. So I hope it's good. I really hope the game is good. Nothing has impressed me yet. You can't really impress me with good graphics anymore. Not Mortal Kombat can. Other games can absolutely do that, but we've already been down that road with Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, I mean, when you play games like Grand Blue Fantasy Versus and what else? Guilty Gear Strive. Those all have great graphics, but they're all anime fighters. Even I think even still to this day, I want to say Blaze Blue even holds up. Like, there's a lot of games
as a sprite game, yeah.
There's
really good.
There's a lot of games that still hold up to this day, and Mortal Kombat 11 still holds up to this day. It's still a beautiful looking game, for sure. And I've been playing it a little bit yesterday and a little bit today, and it's I can only play it for about an hour, but it's still a beautiful looking game for sure. But as far as Cameo Fighters goes, because that's a whole new thing. So I mean, Mortal Kombat 2D fighter goes 3D fighter, goes back to 2D or 2.5D fighter. I don't even know why they called it that, but they've then adding variations. I mean, every single game they are trying to, do something different, do something new. So having the idea of an assist fighter, I was actually super stoked when I first saw that. I'm like, oh shoot, they are going down this route. They are going down the road of tag assists, and it's not tag, it's just assists. But when you initially first saw that, what did you think? I was stoked when I first saw it. I'm like, this is great. This is something new, something fresh. This is going to be a great addition to Mortal Kombat, and we're going to see a lot of really cool combos, some cool defensive moves, good options, because I don't think a lot of people have been saying, and I'm sorry for talking so much because I was asking you a question, but no, a lot of people have been saying like assist fighters, all it does is just extend your combos, and I disagree, because there's going to be a lot of defensive options, a lot of offensive options, a lot of starters, there's a lot of combo starters, combo enders. I mean, I'm hoping that Cameo Fighters is going to be something new and different than the tag assist, but there's a lot of options that you can do with an assist character, so When you first saw it, what did you think?
I'm positive on it. I obviously I need to see more, but I love the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Most believe it or not, everyone seems to be really down about this. People were not happy about this, to my surprise.
I haven't heard anyone talk about it, to be honest. Everybody's been talking about how beautiful the game looks and the characters. And by the way, just real fast, is I'm really happy that they put Melina in the trailer right off the get-go. I even saw this really funny tweet where someone was just like, Ed Boon is be like, I finna not to go through this again because so he's just like, I'm not doing this again. Fine, Melina's in the trailer like day one. So I'm glad that they did something like that, because you know, that's one of the biggest things, that you just want NRS to listen to the fans. And I'm really glad that they did that. They put all the best characters, you know, in the trailers to start. So I'm really glad they did that. So anyway, go ahead.
Well, I haven't had my ear to the wall, so I'm pretty much completely off Twitter these days, if I was even ever on it, to be honest with you. And I don't really know what the buzz is from the Melina fan base. Most of my perspective comes from like the Discord communities, which is why I think I see all the negativity so much. A lot of people, I think, when they heard Cameo, the first thing that came to mind, and to be fair, it's the first thing that came to my mind too. I just don't see it as much as a bad thing. Is my character going to be a cameo? And that's a lot of that's been going around. People are thinking about.
Yeah.
And that I don't really know what to make of that. And I don't say that like I'm flabbergasted. It's just I think there's so many counterpoints on both sides of the conversation. Like for me, if my character doesn't make the roster, that's bad news, because that means I can't run sets with them. It means if I play the game for usually 6 to 8 months, which is on average if it's not one of my favorite games, that's about how long I run the game on average. Then that's 8 months without, say, Reptile. I think Reptile's in, but even if he's not, that'd be the example. But to me, I see it as like I was like using Mitch Hedberg examples. It's like a second chance exit. So if my character doesn't make main roster, I might have them as a cameo. So I see it almost as like a backup plan. I don't see it as, oh no, my favorite character might be a cameo. I don't see it that way at all.
Okay. Yeah, that is the biggest thing. A lot of people have been saying like, oh, your favorite character is a cameo. And I'm like, there's characters in there, and this is where NRS has to really think to themselves, or think really hard about which characters they're going to make cameo. Because this is going to be one part that is going to I don't think it's going to make or break, you know, people playing it, but it's going to disappoint some fans if they make, I don't know, Ashra a cameo character when she's like the third most requested character according to, you know, polls done by like Breast Poet.
I think quantity is going to make a difference. So if the game comes out and there's like 7 assist characters, that's going to look really bad. Because to me, I heard assist, I thought, okay, this is how they're solving the fan request problems. Because every game, they keep getting bombarded by just requests like, hey, where's Cabal? Hey, where's Chameleon? Hey, where's Chameleon with a K? And they're like, okay, this is our solution to this. We're just going to make all these assist characters so everyone will get to participate in some form. And if you only have like 7 assist characters, that's gonna have the opposite effect. So I think the quantity is gonna be a big deal.
Yeah, I can see that, but that's a lot to think about, because like I said, I think cameo characters are going to do more than just be combo extenders. I think they're going to have defensive options, offensive, you know.
I agree.
I don't think they're just, I don't think it's just going to be combo extenders, you know. It's not going to be like Dragon Ball Fighters before and after the, what was it called? They had that update to where you can choose one of 3. You can choose assist A, B, and C. And for a while there, like, you know, almost everybody had like Super Saiyan Vegeta as their middle, because he had one of the best assists in the game. And but that's all you had was one assist. Now you have a plethora of assists. You have 3 assists per character, and that's something, you know, like we don't need to. I don't think that's something we have to think about when it comes to this game, because I think there's going to be way more than just like one assist and then there's your combo extender. And so when you say like 7 or 8 characters being really low, I'm like, well, that's a lot of different options and details you got to think about per character. You know, so what if you put in, you know, say Rain as your assist character? It's like, okay, is that going to be a bubble? Is that going to be a spray? Is, you know, what defensive options are they going to give? There's a lot to think about when it comes to that, you know?
My prediction is you're probably going to be right that they're not just going to be a combo extender. However, if you're a lore guy and it turns out that these assists do have like robust options, I still don't think that's going to be good enough for them. They're going to be like, I want 2 fatalities. I want alternate costumes. I want a player 2 color. Yeah. I want something. But there's also the other side of the debate where even if they are just a combo extender, where if you call assist Reptile, then all he does is he shoots an acid bubble. And that's it. That's the entirety of the assist.
That's going to be disappointing. That's going to be so disappointing.
I don't know. That's my question to those people is what's wrong with that? Why is that bad? I don't really see. I don't know why that's a problem. Assuming we have a plentitude of assists. I think it's a problem if you only have 7 assists in the game, because it's like, okay, now we have a small roster and Reptile can only shoot acid bubbles. Okay, then I get it. But like, if the assist expands the roster to, because I'm hoping there's at least 15 assists. If there's less than that, then I question the point of the whole system. But if there's more than that, and all Reptile can do is shoot an acid bubble, what's wrong with that? Well, okay, like, what's the problem? You can now use you can pick 2 characters, and one of those characters is Reptile, and you can extend your combos with him, and he gets an updated design. And I'm assuming the assists are all going to be in story mode. So I don't see what the problem is with that, other than I didn't get the whole cake. I didn't get the whole pie. Right. I don't really see what the issue is, what people are upset about.
So my answer to that was, it kind of goes back to what I said about the different options, because I personally think there's going to be a ton of options. Like I said, I don't want to keep repeating myself on that one, but if there is just that one option, so like it's like, who's your assist character, and you choose Reptile specific. You choose Reptile because, you know, it's like, might as well not even call him Reptile. Might as well just call him Acid Bubble. You know, so it's like, if that's there, sure. I just don't think that's going to be enough for fans to actually like it, but I don't think it's going to take away from them playing the game. Yeah.
My conjecture is, if they're not happy with the acid bubble, they're also not going to be happy with the other 3 specials he can do. Like, I don't think a robust assist is going to make them happy either. Okay. Because I think they want it all. I think they want Reptile to be fully playable, have multiple fatalities. They want to see the Reptile friendship. I don't.
They want to see Reptile babyality. Yeah.
And I think that I am normally a glass half empty fool, or a glass half empty guy. But this is one of those rare cases where I'm like, you could have gotten nothing. You know, Reptile could have just been Reptile could have been a jar of acid in Aaron Black's like arsenal, right? It could have been nothing. And so the fact that not only are you getting Reptile at all, you're also getting to choose 2 characters at one time, which to me is a big plus. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I think people need to pick their poison, is what I'm saying. And I think you got to be very careful not to operate on the assumption that if this horrible Cameo system wasn't here, I'd have a fully playable Reptile, when that's clearly not obviously true.
Yeah. So I can agree. It's just really hard to, you know, socially engineer people's emotions when it comes to stuff like that. You know,
it's almost like a metaphor for the reveal itself, because everyone was like, if I could have something, just something to show me that MK12 was in development, anything, I'd be happy. And then the reveal happens. They're like, what? I have to wait till June 8th for gameplay? What? Yeah. I'm like, yeah, nothing will ever make these people happy. But I want to be careful about that too, because I can't even count the amount of times that has been told to me when I thought my demands were extremely reasonable. So I somewhat get it. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I can understand being upset that your favorite character was a cameo, but at the same time, you could have gotten nothing.
Yeah.
Like, as a Lee May fan, do I even need to make like a line chart of how many times I got nothing? It would just, it wouldn't even like raise.
Yeah.
It would just be a straight line, a straight line.
Hey, at least
so
she was
like,
at least she was featured as a cameo, as an NPC in Mortal Kombat X. I mean, I can imagine you.
That was cool. Hey, that was a day. That was cool. I have no problem with it. Okay, let me rephrase that.
Yes, you did. Don't lie, dude. I had a problem with it, and I'm a Lee May fan, but not nearly as big as a Lee May fan as you. But when I first saw her in there, I was like, first off, that does not look anything like Lee May. That's a ugly character and ugly design, and why is she in there? And she's not going to be, and there's a lot of other characters too, like Baraka and Sindel, who are in the game that you fight against in the game, and they weren't playable, which was, I think, in poor taste for not to include them. But when you first see Lee May, you're just like, oh sweet, that's Lee May, and that's all you get.
Well, you have to keep in mind that at the same time, I'm meanwhile laughing at all the Rain fans who also got a cameo in their game, in their MKX. So I'm just like laughing at Rain fans is like my favorite pastime. So I would have been all right with it.
I'm sorry, laughing at who?
Rain fans.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, just
yeah.
I would have been all right with it if they had just confirmed she wasn't playable, because Boone was asked many times on Twitter if Lee May was going to be on the roster, and he refused to answer the question. He even trolled some of those people.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what's the big secret? Just tell us if she's playing. If Lee May has to be a cameo, fine. Like, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that. But don't tease us. Just tell us what's up. Tell us she's not playable. Because it's like, what's the big surprise? It's like, I'm going to come home one day and the lights are going to turn on. And you're going to surprise me that there's not a party. Like, you can't surprise you with something not being in the game.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, the thing you thought might be playable, she's not playable.
It's kind of
surprise.
It's kind of like when someone tweeted out Molina's Deception costume, and he's like, "Hey, any chance that this costume's ever going to be available in a future Mortal Kombat?" And he was like, "Not likely." It's like that a little bit, and a little bit died in every Molina fan when they first heard that. And but yeah, that kind of goes back to my communication thing. It's like, if I could have just one request during this marketing campaign, leading up to the game's release, is just like, please just communicate. And which so far they've done. They've just been like, yeah, June 8th, we're going to get something. And there also could be, I mean, if Ed Boon hacked into here and joined this conversation, was just like, you guys don't know what you're talking, kind of the same thing as the combo breaker TO. He's like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. WB Games said that we can't actually reveal anything, until May 26th. And or I'm sorry, May what was the date it was revealed? My bad.
September 19th?
No, that's the release date. I'm talking to the reveal date.
January 2019. Oh, wait, you mean the MK12 reveal date? I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. May 22nd.
Thank you. It's May 22nd. So it was like 3 days ago. But anyway, he's like, they said we couldn't really, reveal anything until May 22nd. And it's like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. Then sure, I get that, and I get that there's a lot of people that are above Ed Boon that are saying like, you like, no, you have to wait. No, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. And it was very apparent during the Q&As, because during the Q&As, when he actually did the Twitter thing where he's like, ask me anything, and people ask him like, when are we getting something? When's this going to happen? Hey, it was pretty much like every Mortal Kombat question you can think of. And you can tell he was just like, I really, really, really want to tell you everything I possibly can, but I just can't right now. So I'm sure there's probably some sort of, there was some things he probably could not tell us, and same thing with what's going on now. And I'm sure they probably have a schedule for their marketing campaign that's going to be leading up to the release. But that is like one of the biggest things that I hope that they do during this time is just freaking communicate, dude. It's just like, tell us what's going on. Tell us like when to expect things. and just every chance you get, give us some information that we can use.
I think all that's fair. If they stick to that, that's fine.
Yeah.
What I don't like, and to be fair, they've gotten a lot better about this, with the exception of making the Conquest character look like Rain. That was not smart. They should have known that was going to backfire.
Or putting Melina as Katana's friendship. That was like that was in such poor taste. I'm like, dude, what do you? That's just all sorts of bad.
I'm a little more okay with that, but I at least I understand, though. At least I come from a point of understanding. What I don't want them to do is create pretenses for things that are not in the game and not confirming the case. Like, if there's an MK12 trailer that just shows like Motaro with his long ponytail waving in the wind, and he's like, "You must find the Komidogu Sub-Zero," and then they won't tell us if he's playable or not, and then he ends up not being playable. I go, okay, that's the stuff that makes you mad. That's the stuff that gets on my nerves. Like, don't do that. Don't create the impression that things are not are in the game when they are not. That's really my only asking point.
Yeah, and that's also fair. And it's, I don't know who makes those decisions too, because there's a lot of times when you're just like, some of the decisions that have been, and when I say decisions, it's like kind of like release dates and stuff. It's like, it's like you decided to release Melina. I believe, was she the last combo combat pack?
It was her, Rambo, and Rain in the final.
That's right. It's like you released the 3 most requested characters, and like Rambo being one of the most requested guest characters, but in Rain, it was Fujin the combat pack before, or was
he was the aftermath pack with Shiva.
That's right. So it's like Fujin was highly requested, but it's like you waited till the very, very end to release Melina, and then when you did release Melina, she was like the lowest tier character in the game, and then and on top of that, you gave her like I was not a fan of her designs, to be honest. I know a lot of people did, and it's like, all the respect to you if you did, but I'm just sorry. I'm like, that dude, she just did not, in my opinion, she just did not look good.
I gave her gear, but I thought the base design was okay. I mean, it's a purple ninja girl.
The base,
I didn't have a problem with the main one.
The base costume is really cool. Terrible. The Tarkatan costume, I thought, was a really good costume if it was not on Melina, but other than, it's like, if I didn't know that was Melina, that would have looked really cool. But other than that, it just didn't do well. Didn't do well. It just didn't do it for me.
Yeah, that's fair. And I don't really care for her current design right now as it is, but that's fine. I'm not the demographic for Melina fans. I've always been partial to Katana and Jade by like a lot.
Yeah, you're a big Jade fan.
Yeah, huge Jade fan. And if she wasn't a Cameo, I'd be a little disappointed, but that's better than not having any Jade at all.
I think she's going to be base roster. I like, Jade is one of those characters where you got to stop leaving her out of games, because she's like such a good character. She always has good designs too. Except in Mortal Kombat 11's costumes. I'm sorry. Those costumes. I like the face model and the body model that they used for her. I actually really liked the accent. I thought the accent was kind of hot. But
she's actually one of my favorite voice actresses in general. She does she's Zeta in Grand Blue.
Oh, really?
She does a lot of she's a famous OG on the Funimation side.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, no, the voice actress was great, and I thought that was really good. But I'm like, I kind of agree with you on Jade's costume design from Mortal Kombat 9 was one of her best ones. My personal favorite was the buns ponytail, or pigtails ones. Was that Deception?
Yeah, from Deception. Yeah,
Deception alt. That was a Deception alt, right?
I think both of those look really good. But yeah, that was
both of them look great. But yeah, it's like, that to me is Jade. That's what Jade looks like to me. And Mortal Kombat 9 was a really good Jade costume as well.
Yeah, I think the 9 one's underrated. I know it's popular in the cosplay community, but I don't really see a lot
for obvious reasons.
Yeah, it's prominent, you could say.
Yeah. So, Yeah, I think most of the Mortal Kombat 9 costumes are the most popular in the cosplay community, but they're for obvious reasons.
Those are the ones that make the money. So
Yeah,
that's what
it's very true.
collects.
Yeah, it definitely, they definitely sell on Patreon. But yeah. So yeah, I think Jade should be main roster. I think she should always be main roster. If Katana's in the game, it's like Melina, I understand. But if Katana's in the game, it's like it's kind of like whenever they would have Liu Kang and leave out Kung Lao. It's like they kind of complement it. Katana and Jade complement each other.
Yeah, and I think Jade is also, while complimenting Katana, is still very autonomous. No one plays like Jade.
Yeah.
So yeah, just gameplay wise, I think she shines so much.
Mm-hmm.
But all that said, though, if she's a cameo, it's like that's a good perspective. Like, what happens when one of my favorite characters turns into a cameo, and I'm like, I've already done this. I've been there before. This was Marvel vs. Capcom 1 for me. Psylocke is my favorite MVC character. She was an assist in that game. She only had one move, and I used it a lot. So I'll live. I think it is kind of tying back to your Asher point. I do think it would be a little misguided to take a highly requested character who has not shown up in over a decade and make them a cameo. That would seem to be in bad taste to me. But I had to ask, the people who are disappointed, is that better than Asher not showing up at all? Yeah. And some of them may say yes. Some of them may say yes to that.
Yeah, I think knowing the Mortal Kombat community is both very sensitive and trigger happy, that I think probably more than half of them would have that answer to say that like they would rather not have Ashra in the game than have her be a cameo.
I guess these people who feel that way only play Mortal Kombat, because I have lived not getting my favorite character back so many times in the last few years.
Yeah,
I'm just used to it.
Yeah.
So it's like you were always throwing dice. I mean, to me, it's something. It truly is something versus. This is not glass half empty. This is empty glass versus partially empty glass. So I think you have to pick.
Yeah, and I think also it's like you and I are both in the same perspective. Is that like, okay, I'm more optimistic than you. I'm actually really hyped for Mortal Kombat, and I cannot wait for September 19th to come out. I think the game is going to be great, and I'm definitely going to be playing it a lot. But I agree with you that if it disappoints me, I'm okay with that, because I have Street Fighter 6. I have a lot of other games that I'm be happy to play over Mortal Kombat, if the game disappoints.
That is such a good point. I keep telling people that don't put all your eggs in one franchise.
Yeah.
Really, especially for fighting games when you have no idea who's coming down around the corner.
Yeah.
You really want to have multiple things. And that's really where a lot of my quote unquote negativity comes from. It's because I have so many things I love that I have the luxury of being critical. And I don't have to worry about disappointment because I have so many different, rods in the fire. I don't remember exactly how the expression goes, but something like that. Which is what got me through Strive. I still don't have my first, second, or third favorite character in Strive. So,
well, yeah, you're a huge Zerd fan, Exerd fan.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
huge. I thought about StarCraft. I was like, oh, I'm not really
StarCraft. Zerd, my bad. Phonetically that makes sense. But no, I know you're a huge Exerd fan. And you're just
dude,
waiting for the
all the way.
Yeah,
no, I'm
just
sorry,
waiting. Just waiting for Dizzy to get revealed. I know it's like,
or Jam. I mean, I'll take my second favorite character too. I'll take anything. Just give me. I don't want to play Zato anymore. I'm tired of Zato. I'm so sick of Zato.
I know. Yeah, you have a pretty good Ramlethal too.
Yeah, people don't like fighting Ramlethal, so I don't use Ramlethal very often.
So who cares, dude? Use Ramlethal and win.
That's the thing. There is no match if you use Ramlethal. People just don't play you anymore. Because that's what everyone in the Discord says. Like, Temp, what are you doing? why are you being such a scrub? Play if you like Ramlethal, play Ramlethal.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, none of those guys will play sets with me. None of them. None of them will play Strive with me.
I played sets with you. I used my Kai versus your Ramlethal.
Yeah, this conversation predates that, but I think a lot of people got burnt out on Ramlethal pretty quickly, and they just got sick of playing that meta. And she's actually, despite how good she is, her tournament record is terrible. In comparison to like Leo, her
I was gonna say
record is pathetic.
I just see Leo and Zato's left and right. That's who I see the most, like winning tournaments.
Everyone's like, Zato's not even top 5. And everyone's been saying that forever. And I'm like, you guys are crazy.
Yeah, no, he's like the pressure king. So, I mean, so is Leo, though.
Yeah, Leo's does whatever he wants thing.
Yeah.
That's like, he's the king of whatever he feels like in that moment.
Yeah. So that's for sure. But, yeah, back to Mortal Kombat. The other thing that, and I don't want to, talk about it too much because I'm in the process of actually editing my next video. But Max, who else, and Super did a video together, and then a lot of other people too as well. I don't know if Cyborg did a video on this, but like the biggest make or break for a lot of Mortal Kombat is gameplay. I would argue that there's more than just one, which is kind of what my video is going to be. So, stay tuned for that. But it's not just gameplay. I mean, it's gameplay, it's roster. For me personally, it's crossplay. Crossplay is probably the biggest thing because I'm going to be buying it on PC. And if they pull the whole thing like they did with Mortal Kombat 11 to where only PlayStation and Xbox can play against each other, then I'm going to be really disappointed. Because, I mean, there's a lot of people who migrated over to PC because they spent all this money and this time building a very very powerful PC, and that's what they want to play it on, and that's understandable, but I'm going to be really disappointed if crossplay is not a part of it. And I know we just talked about roster, but having the ability to play against a bigger pool of people. I know I'm going to be grinding out ranked a lot, but playing against, you and all the guys on Discord and everything is a big deal.
It definitely makes life a lot easier when I don't have to play on PC. So I want the PC guys to have crossplay so I can play with them. And this is doubly controversial because apparently, and this could all be fake, but someone said that PC was not going to have crossplay, and that the Mortal Kombat website edited that out before anyone had a chance to see it. And there are screen caps on Twitter. I do not know how true that is. I'm leaning towards that being untrue, just because people were posting that less than an hour after the reveal. But
does the developer matter? Because it's published by WB. It's developed by NetherRealm. So how does this work? Because it says that NetherRealm Studios published or developed Mortal Kombat 11 through NetherRealm Studios, but QLock does the PC port. But it says developed by QLock. I'm like, okay, did NetherRealm Studios develop? How does that terminology work?
I don't even know myself. I imagine that Boone's perspective is that is someone else's problem, and he's sticking to PS5 and Xbox Series SX.
It's understandable because that's where most of the people are going to be playing.
There's also a long history of this. Although, to my understanding, MK11 was developed in-house. It was not outsourced for PC, and it was outsourced for MKX. I don't know why I said "was" so weird. It was a second ago.
I'm pretty sure it was I'm pretty sure it was outsourced. And like I'm kind of wondering what they do. Do they send the build over to QLock and then QLock just ports it to Steam?
Probably.
Or I'm kind of wondering how that works.
Yeah, I imagine it just here's the assets, do what you got to do.
Okay.
That gets really sketchy when you start talking about netcode. Because you have to assume that everyone knows what they're doing when it comes to rollback. I don't think, I could be wrong, I'm not a developer, but I don't think Ed Boon could just give them the netcode in a
Mhm.
box. I think they have to construct it separately for PC. I think.
Is Tekken 7 crossplay?
No, it is not. But that game is
Okay.
also from 2017, so I don't hold it against them.
Yeah, but Street Fighter 5 is from like 2015.
16.
Yeah, 2016,
But yes,
and
yeah.
it is crossplay.
True, yeah.
Yeah.
What they did was they had their own Capcom Fighting Network, and that's how they got around it.
Okay. Yeah, because that was one thing that Rooflemonger and I talked about was I was like, okay, do you think that a lot of other companies are going to follow suit after the whole $2 million prize?
Well, to be fair, too, like Street Fighter V was
Mhm.
also Sony exclusive. It was on an Xbox, so
Mhm.
in theory, you're dealing with a much smaller infrastructure.
Okay.
So that may have been easy to do. Capcom also installed a rootkit on everyone's PCs, which is one reason why I'm not a PC gamer, if I can help it. It's an
Mhm.
absolute last resort. I like playing fighting games enough where I will install a PC version if it means that's the only way I can play my friends.
Mhm.
But the PC will never not be a security issue. And that's just not going away anytime soon. And actually, that's going to get a lot worse, I think.
Okay.
So, yeah, but I mean, that's neither here nor there. I think Street Fighter V was a weird exception because even though they got the crossplay right, they got the netcode wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like the crossplay came at the cost of not having the game on Xbox.
Okay. So,
And that's what I would say to everyone who is worried about the PC issues. Get the $50 rebate and buy an Xbox Series S for $250. And that is probably going to be your cheapest way to play a good version of Mortal Kombat 12. That's my advice to everybody.
I remember when Mortal Kombat X came out, a lot of people said that it played better on Xbox than it did on Sony.
Definitely true for 9. I don't remember if that's true for X. I can't remember.
I mean, I had Mortal Kombat 9 for 360. That's the only place I actually had it.
For frame rate, that was the best version by far.
And it was great. But yeah, I feel like in 2023, I feel like crossplay and rollback netcode, and I believe on the website it does say they're going to have rollback netcode. I think at this point in time, especially for fighting games, that rollback netcode is just kind of a given. It's just something that, by default that you should have is rollback netcode. But crossplay, I also think for a company as big as NetherRealm Studios with WB Games, or a company as big as WB, it's like, I think crossplay is something that you should just by default have. I mean, am I wrong for thinking that? Because it's like, a lot of people. Go ahead.
You're not morally wrong for thinking that. Ethically, you're correct.
Yeah.
One theory is assuming PC does not have crossplay, but then again, that's not entirely substantiated yet. I'm kind of waiting to see on that. But assuming that's the case, what WB might be thinking is that we're launching this giant infrastructure, and this is going to be our best defense against pirating. So if you want to participate in the PC version, you will be quarantined because we don't want you messing up with our combat crystals or our unlockables, or we don't want you messing with our source code or our data mining. And that obviously that is just so why there's no PC beta.
And I was gonna say the beta that's the biggest thing. In fact, when they announced the beta and stuff, I actually called two of my friends to be like, "Yo, do you want to get together when beta comes out? Because I'm not gonna be able to play it." So, yeah.
It's and that is one thing where I hate to say it, but WB is actually in the right on this because there is a 0% chance there will not be a cracked beta if they go with PC.
And I'm sure they probably looked at what happened with the Street Fighter 6 cracked beta, and they were just like, "Yeah, we don't want any part of that." And then they just immediately were like, "Nope, it's out. PC beta. We're not doing that again, or we're not doing that at all."
And they're just right. You're going to get hacked. Your game is going to leak if you do that.
It is very understandable. I mean, I'm not disappointed in it whatsoever. Because I mean, for one, I have friends who are, local friends who are going to be getting it, and I'm going to be able to play it. That's fine. So I have no problem with that. But crossplay that's a big deal. That's a big deal for me. And I'm sure it's a big deal for a lot of other, people who are going to be playing on PC as well, because we're like, dude, we want a much bigger player pool. We're going to want to play it with our friends. And I don't have $400. And if you include the game, $510 to just drop on a game, it's like, if anybody's listening and wants to buy me a PS5, by all means, like, I'll give you my PayPal. So if anybody wants to drop $400-$500 on me, I'll take it for sure and buy a PS5 with it, and but yeah, it's like I don't have $510 to drop on a game.
I don't really, because we're kind of walking on that sort of like that frozen lake of the PC versus console debate.
Yeah.
And my stance has been fairly consistent on that throughout the years, is you're always rolling dice with PC. You're just always rolling dice. Because it could be a bad port.
Explain that.
It could be...
I was going to say, because Rooflemonger was this. So Rooflemonger, he buys 2 versions of the game. Every game that he gets, he always buys 2 versions. He buys a PC and a PlayStation. Always. But whenever he records anything, he always records it on his PlayStation with his screen capture box, whatever he buys. I forgot what it's called, but that's what he does. And I'm wondering if, like, other people do the same as him. And from the way it sounds like what you're doing with your PS5, it sounds like you're kind of doing the same thing, because you'd much rather play it on PS5. But there was a lot of people who migrated in Mortal Kombat 11 over to PC. And whenever I play Street Fighter 5 online, PC. When I played the Street Fighter 6 beta, everybody was playing on PC. Like I didn't see a lot of PlayStation players, so I'm kind of wondering, like, why? Like, what is explain that to me. Why would you rather play Street Fighter 6 and Mortal Kombat 1 and Tekken on a PlayStation 5?
Well, for one thing, the record function of the PS5 is flawless. I have like well over 10 hours of footage from this weekend for the Street Fighter 6 beta. So that's a big reason, is to be able to archive my sets is huge. I find this is now for Street Fighter 5 specifically, the PS4 version had technical problems, which kind of pushed everyone to the PC crowd for Street Fighter. And that was unfortunate, but the PS4 has notoriously bad architecture, so that's not as bad as PS3, but still bad. But for me though, like as someone who uses a stick, sitting in front of a keyboard and a stick in front of 2 monitors with a microphone is just very, very cramped and uncomfortable. And I don't like being that close to the screen. Probably the most important part is I use my PC for other things during sets. So I lose a lot of functionality doing that, even with 2 monitors. Game applications don't usually run as a normal window. They pretty much take over your screens generally. Now there's ways around that.
I don't personally have that issue. Not anymore, because I mean, for a long time there, I was only playing on 1 screen. Now I have 2. I mean, throughout the stream, you see me looking back and forth at each, 1 screen, 2 screen. But I've never had that issue. I think Street Fighter 5, I did have a bit of an issue, because for whatever reason in OBS, the only way that I was able to record or stream is if you played it in Windows, like not on full screen. That was the only that was an issue I had. I don't know if other people have the same issue.
That's one reason why I didn't stream Street Fighter 5 very much, is because I basically had to show my entire screen for people to see what was playing. That was really frustrating.
Yeah,
that seems like such a huge oversight too, by the way. But
do you put your stick on your lap, or do you put it on your desk?
On my lap.
Oh, okay. I put it on my lap, but I don't have that issue. I don't have an issue with having my my keyboard, my stick, and my screens. I don't know. That also might just be an opinion issue as well.
Yeah, there's some orthopedics involved in that too. I could not play on my desk because that would just destroy my back. Because like my arms, I guess I don't know if I have long or short arms. I imagine I have short arms, which is weird because I'm not like a short guy. But like if I have to lean forward, if I have to arch my back to press buttons, I imagine half an hour that would just kill me. That would just destroy me. But again, it's just it's not just a comfort issue. Like there are the security track record for fighting games hasn't been the worst. but you only have to be wrong once, and the Blaze Blue fans were wrong once. And it's hard to understate how severe the Blaze Blue vulnerability was on PC. It was a very big deal. Like, pretty much anyone can get a full C2C access on your computer because of the Blaze Blue exploit. Now, how often that people exploited that is not clear. Not a lot of data on that, but the guy, the face of Blaze Blue is no longer at Arxis, and that was a few months after that happened. So I find it likely those two things are related. It was that big of a deal. Okay. That could happen with any game. There's no game that's safe from that.
That's understandable. So yeah, no, I understand from like the security aspect of it and everything. But as far as like, you know, I think there's no input lag when it comes to PC, but I don't think PS5 deals with that, does it?
To a lesser extent, PS5 has gotten better about it. It's usually around 5 ms, which is not bad when you compare it to like Tekken 7 or Street Fighter 5 when it first launched, which was like 8 ms. 8 ms is actually a big deal. I am personally not convinced 5 ms is a problem competitively, as long as it's consistent.
Yeah, I can agree with you. As long as it's consistent is the main thing there. Because I mean,
yeah, if it changes, that's a big deal.
Yeah, on my PC with my monitor, I only get 1 millisecond. And it's consistently 1 millisecond.
Well, for the monitor too, but once it goes to the application, the layer 7, that's when there's additional latency. And supposedly that's what the patches were supposed to solve for Street Fighter 5.
Got it. For sure. So yeah, back on the Mortal Kombat, this is kind of, you know, this is gonna be a short stream because I mean, honestly, it's like it was talking to you about Mortal Kombat is not necessarily, no, I would never say hard, but it's like, you know, like you said earlier, I have an empty glass versus an almost empty glass versus it's stuff, because you're okay with Mortal Kombat being disappointing. Personally, if it's disappointing, like I said, I'm just gonna go play Street Fighter 6 and make Street Fighter 6 content, and that's what I'm primarily, you know, like I try to do kind of half and half Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat because those are the two primary things I like to focus on. But I'm okay with if Mortal Kombat is a disappointment because I have Street Fighter 6, I have Guilty Gear Strive, you know, I have been doing a little bit of Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, but and especially with the new what's it called, the expansion that's going to be coming out,
Rising.
Yeah, that looks super cool. But for personally, I mean, the thing that is probably gonna really like hold me into Mortal Kombat and keep me hyped is one is the marketing campaign. It's kind of funny too, because this is the first time like in the past, probably in the past like 5 years, this is the first time where it's almost like the consumer is like, hey, Mortal Kombat, market to me. Like it's kind of, they're telling, it's funny how the consumer is literally telling NetherRealm Studios how to market to them, you know, instead of like, it used to be kind of like the opposite, like NetherRealm Studios would market in hopes that they would, you know, it's kind of like fishing, where in hopes that, you know, they would catch the consumer and reel them in. But this is like the consumer is literally being like, you know, like, hey, this is my bait, reel me in. It's a really interesting time. But
I think one reason why people are kind of antsy right now is there was no real surprise in the trailer, like a Reiko or a Scarlet. I think that's what a lot of people are craving right now.
Yeah, I can agree with that 100%. No, 100% I agree with that. Yeah.
And that's kind of like, I think people look at the Mortal Kombat 1 trailer. Yeah.
Is it surprising though? Like, are you surprised that Reiko or Astra or Serena or Lime were not in the trailer? Like, does that surprise you?
Not really.
It doesn't
okay, let me put it this way. It would surprise me June 8th because at the reveal event 2019 we got Scarlet. So I think that was absolutely by design. They're like, people are going to freak when they see Scarlet.
Yeah,
and for the most part, we did. I did at least. And
that was
you can actually listen to that.
That's a very wise decision. It was 100%.
So June 8th, if we don't get like Chameleon, not to be confused with Chameleon, with a C, then I think we don't get something like that. Yeah. I'd be like chameleon. Yeah, no, I'd be very surprised if there's not one big like I bet you didn't see this coming on June 8th. Then I'll be like, okay, what's going on here? But I don't think people think like that. I think people were so like frothing for an MK12 reveal that they just wanted whatever they gave was not going to be enough. And I do agree that it's like, hey, remember Mortal Kombat 1 and 2? And I don't think that's what people wanted at all.
And I agree with you. I think people were just like I like that phrase. People were frothing at the mouth, like wanting something to happen. And I 100% agree with you. And when they got it, they were just overly hyped. And give it a couple of days, the hype still hasn't dissipated. And it's kind of funny to hear people like Max say that the trailer wasn't good. And the only reason he said that the trailer wasn't good was because there was no gameplay or some sort of teasing of the gameplay like they did in Mortal Kombat X and Mortal Kombat 11. But having a few days to really, like, I've watched that trailer, gosh, probably 150 times now. Personally, to me, it does it justice. It's still a godlike trailer. And the fact that Ed Boon was like, hey, June 8th, stick around, June 8th. Hey, make sure June 8th, we're going to give you some gameplay. You know what I'm hoping that they do too? This is another thing I really hope that they do, is they're going to do a gameplay trailer. Okay. But I hope they do what Harada did at the Game Awards when they did a gameplay trailer. And then he went on this 15-minute interview where he explained everything too. And he went over everything. And he also like gave more, more details about it with footage. And that's kind of something that I hope they do. I'm not banking. I wouldn't be disappointed if they did. But I mean, if you're going to tell us it's going to be a very dense 4 months and it's going to be a really aggressive campaign, dude, be effing aggressive then. Like, be dense every chance you get. Give us something, show us something, and really blow, like try, do your best. I'm sure they're probably thinking about this. I'm sure they already have everything scheduled, but just every chance you get, try and blow us away and try to get us more and more hype for September 19th.
So in a way, just to kind of back up my point earlier, I was wrong. It wasn't May 22nd. It was May 18th, by the way. So the next reveal is going to be June 8th. So we're already seeing like 3 weeks. What's it?
I said, it was a week ago from today. Okay.
Yeah, time is weird these days, but we're already seeing a gap. And people are like, oh, 3 weeks. Like, you can't wait 3 weeks. We're like, well, I can. But again,
can the Mortal Kombat
define aggressive?
Yeah.
Like, what's aggressive mean if we're going 3 weeks without content? Like, I don't know what aggressive means in that case. But again, so now, again, to Steelman and Boon's position, there's probably some paperwork where they have to reveal it at the next game show. And that's understandable. For me, at least, that's understandable. I don't really take that personally.
I'm sure Game Fest probably signed some papers or bought or paid them something to where they're just like, okay, we want your trailer at Game Fest. It has to be at Game Fest and nowhere else.
I just hope people don't get the idea that this is going to be the only gap and it's going to be like footage every week from there forward. I don't, again, aggressive can mean so many things. I think people need to chill and understand that aggressive can mean a reveal once every 3 to 4 weeks too. Aggressive can mean literally whatever they want. If I told you an hour ago, I'm going to aggressively do this podcast with you, what on earth does that even mean? It doesn't mean anything. It can mean that, I'm going to come strong with my points, or it could mean that I'm going to be present the entire podcast, which I fulfilled that expectation. It doesn't mean anything. It's just literally meaningless.
Yeah. So it's kind of like saying like, oh, I want a large Coke, but for $1 more, you can get an extra large, but that extra large is only going to have about 10 millimeters, or 10 mil, like just barely more amount to where it's like, where you just put a little bit of ice in it and voila, it's an extra large. Bro,
I went to Steak and Shake for the first time in like a long ass time a few days ago.
I don't know what that is.
It's like Freddy's. It's one of those compact steak places.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I went there. It's in San Antonio, and I ordered a large drink, and that thing was pathetic. Like, that was large for like an 8-year-old. I'm like, I'm not a child. I demand more fluid ounces than this.
Yeah.
So, great example. Yes, a large drink could be anything.
Yeah.
Like, large drinks actually, over time, large drinks have gotten larger. But Whataburger in Texas never did that. A large drink was the largest thing you've ever seen. That was true back in the 90s.
Yeah.
So, again, these words do not mean anything. Or at the very least, they could mean anything.
I will say that In-N-Out does a pretty good job with it too. It's like, I think it's 10 or 20 cents more. I don't know what it is now. 10 or 20 cents more for small to medium to large. And it's like, but it's 8 ounces, 20 ounces, 32 ounces. So it's like you get a lot, for upgrading.
I mean, 32 ounces at least. If you give me a 20 ounce large, I'm going to be pissed.
No, it's 20 ounce medium.
I need to hydrate. I need fluids.
I know. Unless you're drinking soda, then you're just like, I need sugar. So
I do a lot of iced tea these days, mostly. I try to stay away from soda. I've been drinking a lot of carbonated water.
Oh, are you going with the LaCroix and the bubblies?
No, I've been doing Waterloo.
Which
I mean, honestly, it's the same thing pretty much. It's not that different. There's just
taste better.
Like a light cherry flavor or something like that. But I need to compulsively drink something all the time.
I saw.
So yeah.
No, I was gonna say I saw a funny meme my friend sent me that said like LaCroix tastes like a Sprite that's yelling at you from behind a closed door.
Yeah, I like that. That's accurate.
Yeah. But Waterloo tastes good. Waterloo actually has like some flavor to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm just like that. Those birds they have that just perpetually like dip into the glass. Like that's me. I need that arm motion of lifting a beverage to my mouth. I need something I finished 2 cups of coffee during this podcast. So yeah,
that's not bad. Yeah, but then are you working tonight?
No, thank you. Actually, I'm almost on the night shift. Night shift ends June 1st. That's not a good thing. No, it's not. It's really not.
I remember when I did the early morning shifts.
Back to bureaucracy and crazy staff issues, but what's that?
Oh, I was going to say, I remember when I did like early mornings when I started at like 4 or 4:30 a.m. It's like, you'd wake up at 3:30 to like get to work, but on your days off, it's like, God forbid if you sleep in, because then you just throw your whole sleep schedule off. It's like, nope, you want to keep waking up at 3:30 or 4 because, you're not going to be able to sleep next time around and have to reset your sleep schedule.
Yeah, and it's a forward flip too. So I go to bed roughly between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. So when night shift is over, I just don't go to bed at 8 a.m. or 10 a.m. I go to bed at like 4 p.m. If I'm lucky.
Yeah.
And then you have to trick yourself into not waking up, which is also very difficult. So.
Yeah. But so to conclude this podcast, before in a podcast, I said, what is going to bring Temp back to Mortal Kombat? What is going to make him as stoked as he was about back when Mortal Kombat 9 came out, and you're playing Mortal Kombat 9 for 20 hours a day? Like, what, now that you've seen the trailer, know that there's going to be cameo characters and there's a whole new game system or fight system. Like, now what is it? Is it still the roster? Because the roster is what you said before.
It's a positive and a negative. The positive is combos. Add execution. Let me do really cool stuff. Let me do really difficult stuff. Let me do the cool stuff I do in training mode in a match. That's going to be one. That's easily on top of the positives. The negative is it's actually a story thing. Don't do anything really stupid with my favorite characters. Like, I will cancel a pre-order over Evil Sindel. I am more than happy to cancel that pre-order.
Yeah.
Like, don't do that twice. I actually don't even want Sindel in this game just because I don't even want to like I hate that whole conversation. Just got so tired. So just
with the Sindel Recon conversation.
I just, and I hated it. Just the Recon by itself was bad enough, but just the turbulence around it just got so exhausting. And like, I would love for Onaga to be in this game. And if they do her right, I'd love for Lee May to be in this game. But if Lee May and Onaga are in this game, that is a huge red flag. That tells me they're going to turn her into an evil dragon lady. Probably. Maybe not. We'll see. But like that would make me clench. That would make me nervous. So yeah, don't to recap. Let me do really cool high execution stuff in a match, and don't do anything really stupid with my favorite characters. Don't give them like a really stupid plot point to someone who should not have it.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Because I'm banking on Serena in the way that you're banking on Lee May, because Serena is by far my favorite character in Mortal Kombat. I mean, I love redemption stories. You know, demon from hell rises out of hell, you know, because she sees another way that she's never seen before, and then gets out of Netherrealm to go to Earthrealm to join the Lin Kuei. I mean, that's fantastic story. I love that story. I do expect a lot of I do expect a lot of changes amongst the characters and the story, because Dominic Chinchillo is really, really ballsy with making some decisions, and I think he's in a spot right now where he is actually just like, I can do whatever I want now. Not necessarily say like Ed Boon is just giving him free range, but I'm just saying like now he's just like, okay, we're gonna change up everything, and I think he would. And I think Ed Boon is actually very for that too. Ed Boon is very much for change and likes the idea of starting over, you know, and making Lin Kuei Scorpion or whatever, you know, what have you. But at the same time, I'm kind of in the same thing, which we're like, you know, hey, are we gonna get Lee May in the game? But this time, you know, she's going to be exactly how you don't want her to be. So I can imagine that just being like, I can imagine, oh, we're going to give you Serena, but she's not going to be the Serena you know and love.
All I ask, and my standards are so low, just don't make her a villain. If she's brainwashed, fine. I can live with that.
Yeah.
But don't make her like a cackling idiot, and don't contradict her previous appearances. Like,
that's the one good thing.
Don't give her a shaved head.
That's the one good thing about this whole Mortal Kombat 1 in the in-universe reboot, as Cyborg likes to say. It's an in-universe reboot. It is one good thing I think is really good, that they're starting from ground zero to a place where it's like you're setting the universe up now. This is ground zero. You're building from the ground up. So at this point now, you're also setting the tone and the stage for future writers as well. Dominic Chinchilla is not going to be there forever. And you know that in the future, they're going to get more writers, different writers. And so you're setting it up for those future writers as well. You know, make it strong, make it a really strong story, and set it up to where it's just like, you know, I like it better when there is no interpretation for said characters or said story. Like, put your flag in the ground of what the story is going to be, of what these characters are going to be. You know, I don't want to have like, oh, Sindel was always evil. No, she wasn't. That's why I was so upset about the retcon. I hate using the word upset over a video game, but that's why I was so just like, why would you do that? She was loving mom who was brainwashed. What are you doing with that? You know?
And at some point we have to say art matters. Like it's we can call it a video game, but it's also art. It's also literature.
This is very true. Yeah.
And I think like my thoughts on Dom, I'm posting a meme that'll just be between us. But this is my thoughts on Dominic generally, especially for MK1/MK12. So like my thoughts are like either it has no artistic value and everything's arbitrary, or it does have artistic value and these things do matter. And if someone takes the former position, I have to ask, why do you care? If this has no artistic value, then why does it matter to you if Sindel is good or evil? And I think like people want to have like a flag in both camps where like none of this matters, LOL. But also you don't have a right to get mad about this because of reasons. Like it's just like the minute you start caring about something, you have to make decisions like this. So
yeah, it kind of reminds me of that. It kind of reminds me of a Breaking Bad where Walter White, he's like, I'm just a chemist who's making the most beautiful meth you've ever seen. And then you got gosh, what's his name? Who's his partner?
I've never seen Breaking Bad.
I watched like the first 2 seasons, and like I
technically I did too. I watched the first season because my roommates were watching it, but I have no memory of it.
But his partner was just like, it's big. He's like, cooking is art. And then Walter White, who's making the best meth that's ever been made, and he's just like, oh, I just did this and I just did that, basic chemistry and stuff. And that's kind of how I kind of feel. It's like, you gotta, it is art. This is artistic. This is art. It's like developing and creating a game takes a team. And that is another thing that I wanted to make apparent, is that a lot of people would accuse Dom for being a bad writer, and I actually disagree. I think he's a great scene writer, and I think that he has the right creativity to write a good story. But in the same way that George Lucas, he needs a team of people to be like, whoa, hold on, and talk amongst things. So for instance, George Lucas, when he first created Star Wars, he wrote it in a way that was actually really bad if you let him do everything he wanted the way he wanted. And because of his team of editors, they took his story and they flipped some stuff around and put this, for instance, Luke Skywalker walking out of their, like below ground house or whatever it's called. That was supposed to be the opening scene, not Darth Vader boarding the ship, Princess Leia's ship. That was the editors who actually did that. And so can you imagine Luke being the opening scene versus the diplomatic mission to Coruscant? No, it's like, that's the reason that Star Wars is so successful, is because George Lucas was a great story writer or world builder, but he needed a better director and a better editing team to help him. And I think Dom is the same way, where I think he's a great scene writer and a great story writer, but he needs the team of editors and the team of people to, I don't want to say put him in check, but just, kind of help him with that. Because they're some of the most fantastic scenes I've ever seen in a video game were in Mortal Kombat 11.
Well, I think his vision of Mortal Kombat is very mechanical. Like, he gave a Twitter defense of the Sindel stuff, and a lot of it was just, we need to do this so the other elements would work, which is just not how a story writer should think. One reason why I love Demon Slayer so much is that is just not how the author thinks at all. She is very constant. Watch. We don't need to go too deep into this, but watching season 3, it's very obvious she had a plan. And Dom is mostly playing Legos with the story, it seems. So I don't know. I really don't know.
I can see that.
I don't ask much. My demands are very easy. Just don't contradict the things that make the character great. That's really all I ask. If you do that much, I don't care if you have Robo Reptile or if a re-corrupted Shinnok shows up. Okay, that's not my favorite, but I'll live. Just don't do anything really stupid with the characters, and that's all I ask. And they have not delivered on that yet. They have yet to deliver. On Dom's end. So we'll see.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, I'm.
Don't make Reptile Black Dragon.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I don't think Onaga's going to be in the game. I agree with Brust.
I disagree with that. I think he is in the game, actually, because
he's highly requested for sure.
Well, Shang Tsung is young in the trailer, so that makes
which was a great design, by the way, dude.
Except for the claws. The claws are the only thing I don't like, but the design is otherwise good.
Yeah, Shang Tsung looks sick, dude. I think it looks great. So that is the cool thing, dude. I don't have a criticism for any of the characters. I've heard the criticisms of why is
I do for the ninjas, but yeah.
No, I like the ninjas. I thought the ninjas look cool. That's just me.
I mean, I kept making the joke of I can't wait to see Reptile's man bun. And that's going to probably not go. I know if it makes me laugh, it's not going away. I don't care if other people find it funny. I find it funny. So, but the joke,
and he has his tail.
Oh man,
man bun.
The tail has a man bun. Oh my gosh. No, it's just the joke is that like they simplify to a fault. It's like, okay, now I know people are saying, oh, Scorpion's in Lin Kuei now. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't looked too deep into that. If that is the case, whatever. But I don't think Scorpion and Sub look nearly different enough. I think the scaled down look, it's both too busy and too boring. Like a cloth V is not the direction I would have taken.
How would you feel if Scorpion didn't have Hellfire? If he was just relying on his spear moves?
Thankfully, and I got exposed for this hard in the Nethercast, I'm not the biggest Scorpion fan, so I would live. Apparently that came to a surprise to people. I got blown up pretty hard for that on the show. I like Scorpion. Scorpion's cool. I gave him an A. I think he's an A+ character. He is not one of my favorite characters, though. He's not even in my top 10. So I think if he can't do the teleport stuff, and he can't...
I mean, he can teleport without Hellfire. He was teleporting without Hellfire before they even implemented Hellfire.
He can't be a skull without Hellfire, though. That would be a little strange. He rips his own face off. Maybe. My theory is that someone else is going to kill him this time. That's my theory. Maybe it's Shang. Maybe it's Melina. Maybe it's Chameleon with a K. I don't know. I think he will die again, but the death will be a different circumstance.
I'm kind of wondering how it's now that we're into the trailer. I'm kind of wondering because, for the trailer effects, it was all story driven. I'm kind of wondering. One, Bress made a really good point, which is that he doesn't think Shang Tsung is the big bad, and I agree with that because you don't kill the big bad in the freaking reveal trailer. So that makes sense to me, and I think the big bad is going to be either Shao Kahn. I have a theory that we're at a time when it's before he became Khan, but a lot of people have been showing. At first, I didn't believe them. They like the satellites, fixtures, and the room, the electric fans that were not like 500 years ago. At first, I was just like, that's really hard to make out the satellites, but it was actually the hanging light fixtures that did it for me. When I saw the hanging light fixtures, I'm like, oh, okay, that's when you can see light bulbs in them. So it's like, oh, okay, maybe we aren't 500 years ago. But yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of, different takes, different things. And I'm kind of banking on it, and I'm kind of, excited to see it. I think it's going to, hopefully it does well. Hopefully they do it well.
I thought Khan was going to be the big bad as well at first. And what made me change my mind and switch over to Onaga is when they said they're rewriting everything from scratch, which still, my theory, I really did think it was going to be Shao Kahn because I thought, well, we're doing MK1 and 2 again. And since we're only doing MK1, we're not doing MK2. That makes Khan less likely. And on top of all of that, Shang Tsung being young again, it makes me think Great Kung Lao won the tournament. That's what I think happened. If that's the case, and Earthrealm never merged or was in danger of merging, if Fire God Liu Kang and Great Kung Lao just kept winning tournaments, then that leads me to believe that Khan has been dethroned. So the Dragon King has been resurrected.
I think, personally, we're at a time when, going off of Mortal Kombat 11's ending, I think we're at a time when there is no Great Kung Lao. I said this in a previous video. I think we're at a time when it's just like, this is Kung Lao. There's only one Kung Lao, and here he is.
I mostly agree with that, but I think I read somewhere that if you win an MK tournament, you're immortal. Because you have the Elder God powers. Or the Elder God blessing.
I've never heard that one before.
That's a Razor question. I will run that by Razor.
All right. Everybody go to Razor's lore dojo and ask him questions.
Yeah, I'm sure he has a very sophisticated response to that, because
that's going to be funny for Razor. He's going to be like, "Gosh, I memorized all of this old lore. Now this isn't a rewrite, by the way. This is just an addition." So they're not rewriting anything. This is just a new era that they're just adding on.
It almost sounds like Fire God Liu Kang is borderline a villain in this game, but it's hard to tell.
What's funny is if you watch if you look closely, when Shang Tsung comes out of that portal, you see Fire God Liu Kang kind of smirk a little bit. Look real close. He smirks at seeing Shang Tsung. But what I was gonna say was that, you know,
I can see Dom doing that as well. It's like, what if the bad guys were the good guys? So I'm like,
yeah.
Like I can see Fire God Liu Kang turn into a tyrant, not because I think it makes sense for the story. It just modern writers love subversion so much. They love deconstruction. So yeah,
modern writers do like diversion and reconstruction, and Mortal Kombat is a perfect place to have like the anti-hero be, because Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, Liu Kang was the hero, and he was also a no murder philosophy. And didn't he give that up Mortal Kombat 3, or is that Mortal Kombat 2?
Mortal Kombat 2, I believe.
Okay, so
because after the slaughter of the Shaolin, that's when he started doing fatalities.
Right. And okay, so Mortal Kombat 2, that's when and so you have this Mortal Kombat 1, you know, Shaolin Kung Fu master who refuses to murder, and then it changes in Mortal Kombat 2. Well, in 2023, a lot of writers nowadays, they like the Deadpools and the Wolverines and the anti-heroes. So I can kind of see that being, you know,
that's why Havoc is almost confirmed for this game. Havoc is almost a lock.
Yeah. So they want those, they want the chaotic neutrals and the chaotic goods.
Yeah, we'll see though. Well, the roster, like I always say, I don't like talking about things that aren't real. So the roster stuff is going to be, I'm staying almost entirely out of those conversations just because when I'll talk about them when they're confirmed or when they're deconfirmed. I don't want to talk about anything before that.
Yeah.
We will just see.
And I put down I made that roster video with the previous one is really funny too, because I said Sonya, I think is going to be DLC, and a lot of people did not like that. You know?
I saw that video. I was surprised by that too. I disagree because the game is called MK1, so I feel like all the OGs.
Are we going to see
the 7 will be there?
Are we going to see evil General Sonya? I mean, it could happen.
I mean, is she not already that? Was that not MKX Sonya?
No, she was just like, she was just
I'm joking,
hard to tolerate. But because I did not like Sonya in MKX or MK11. Her gameplay was great, but I didn't like that. But yeah, but to end it, so yeah, it's like, don't mess up the characters and make them to a point. So to recap what you said, don't make contradictive and illogical decisions with the characters and who they are as a character. Did I get that right?
Yeah, just so Li Mei's story is going to have to change if she comes back. So like obviously she can't participate in the Deadly Alliance tournament again, but like don't make her
even
like
is one, because it's a new era. Yeah. That's why I want people to kind of burn into their brain right now. This is a whole new era. This is a whole new story. Get rid of everything you thought was existing before, because it's not going to exist in the future. Like, it's just whatever's about to come out is nothing that you know to be true from the past.
And that's easy for me to do, like, because I feel like we've already done that once. So I'm practiced at this point. So like, if Li Mei's brainwashed or she's like, you know, tricked by the Dragon King, fine. That does not contradict the things that made Li Mei a good character. But don't make her like a Tanya. That's my big thing.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, is just like, it's a little different for most other people. For instance, like, people be okay with Havoc being a bad guy, you know, in the game, because they just want Havoc back. So if he is a villain, then for sure. I mean, he was a villain in the MKX comic books, but for you and I, we agree that we like our protagonists. We like the good guys. We like to be on the good side. And so for me, it's like, if you bring Serena back, God forbid you make her a villain, that I'm not going to be happy about that. And same thing with you and Li Mei. If they bring Li Mei back, make her a good guy. You know, so I agree with that one.
At least in principle. Sure. Like, she does evil things because like the Dragon King's there. I mean, it just is what it is, but I can live with that.
Yeah, and it's kind of like Sindel before. It's like, she was brainwashed, so of course she's going to be doing stuff like that. you know?
Yeah, I was fine with MK9 Sindel outside of what she did in the plot, but I don't blame Sindel for that. I don't
Right.
hold that against Sindel. I think that was a writing thing.
Right. So, so that, and make some pretty cool combos.
Give me challenge me. Let me do some cool stuff, right? Like if it's not challenging and it's easy, then I feel like we're right back to MK11 again.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think Mortal Kombat 9 and Mortal Kombat X was chocked full of like really cool combos. There's some really cool stuff you can do.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, particularly for me at least, was Mortal Kombat X. There's a lot of really cool stuff I could do. And gosh, I would love for him to bring back the run button. I like the run button. That's just my opinion. But to end it, yeah, for me, same thing. Gameplay wise, because that's probably the most important thing for me, because Mortal Kombat 11's gameplay was hot garbage. I can have fun with it for about an hour, and that's the tops I can do. And don't do things like breakaway. Fatal blows is okay if it's built up. So I would just bring like X-rays. X-rays were fine. I liked X-rays. That was cool. But the Cameo fighters, I'm really looking forward to. I'm very optimistic about that. And I'm hoping it's going to be great for the gameplay, but I'm also hoping for big plays, big combo extenders. But I'm also hoping that it's going to be used more than just combo extenders, that there's going to be way more options that are going to come out of Cameo fighters. And we're going to find that out June 8th. So I'm holding that date, Well,
it'd be really cool to have like more pressure. Like I'm even more excited for the pressure ideas, because it's like if you're blocking and I do a string, and halfway through that string, like Kung Lao comes out and throws a buzzsaw out, and I can keep pressuring, like that would be such a breath of fresh air.
Gosh, you're such a Zato player.
Yeah, I am.
Yes. That sounds awful. Or like,
I look forward to it.
Or like having somebody like, I don't know, like, gosh, who's a zoner? You're playing a zoner character. You're playing, like MK11 Scarlet, and then you can whip out Kung Jin to come and throw some arrows at you, and then you can just keep zoning. So,
that could be fun. That could be. I mean, don't go crazy with that. We don't want another Injustice 2. But yeah, that could be fun.
Green Arrow Injustice 2 was just garbage. But yeah, it's like I'm looking forward to the Cameo fighters, and I think if done the way I'm expecting it to, and I'm trying to have mid expectations, as in like if you're gonna build up Cameo fighters, it better be freaking good. And that, and I agree with the roster thing. That's a big deal. Give me a strong, solid roster, and how do I phrase it? Like, give me my character. Yeah, and it's pretty much everything you said. I think you said it perfectly. I'm not even going to try to reword what you said. Was that, I want the character. I want my character that I want back. I want Serena. That's the one character I want back the most. For you, it's Lee May. And it's like, don't do him dirty. Like, do him justice, So it's like, we're going to have...
I mean, if you're up to me, I would still omit Lee May just because I don't even want to take the risk. I'd rather see if the game turns out good or not, and then, deal my cards. But I would say my actual most requested character is Smoke, just because I do not think you can mess up Smoke. I don't even think it's possible.
Yeah. That's I can see that.
Everyone wants Smoke. Like, Smoke's not a controversial character. Like, most sane people want Smoke back.
Yeah, he's the second, according to Bresk's the vote, or what is the poll that he put out. Smoke is the number 2 most requested. It goes Havoc, Smoke, Ashra. So
Smoke is a heavy hitter. And you'll see there's a pattern there between Ashra and Havoc. And his characters have not returned in a long time. And Smoke is like a ninja. He's the old timeline.
Yeah, and he's one of the originals too. I mean, he first appeared in Mortal Kombat 2. So
he's an OG.
Yeah, he's a legacy character. I mean, but yeah, for me it's Serena. I really want Serena back. I really want her to have that same redemption arc. I really want her to be, a good character, like a protagonist, or at least on the side of good. you know, and there's a lot of potential to be had in a character like that. Same thing with Nitara. I think has a lot of potential. I'd like to see that character come back, and you know, having some sort of like flight stance mechanic would be really cool, kind of like Ermac in Mortal Kombat X. You know, it's like,
that'd be really sick.
Yeah, to have her like, you know, kind of like leap and flutter in the air, maybe, or maybe even like leap and do like one wing push, where she leaps, one wing push, and then it's a stance, and then you can like do something like, I don't know. I've thought about this a lot. Like that's my, you know, that's my concept for Nitara, to be an air stance character, you know. So anyway, but yeah, that's all I got, man. Do you have any final thoughts you want to share?
No, not really. It's all June 8th. Everything kind of hinges on June 8th. We gotta find out how this game plays. We gotta find out how the cameos work. I would like to have an idea of how many cameos we are to expect.
Okay.
And then how the game looks in game. Because the CGI debate, I'm glad that's not dragging out. We'll see who was right on that. And if I'm wrong, that's fine. Like, I still feel like at the time my reasons were relevant. I did not hear good responses to them. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It just is what it is. So yeah, yeah, it's the same every Mortal Kombat. You know, the reveal never answers the big questions. So that's going to be telling. In 2 weeks, we'll know for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and same thing for me is June 8th. We're gonna find out a lot. So I'm banking on a lot to be I'm banking on a lot to be revealed. And you know, Ed Boon, if you're listening, dude, be aggressive. Be aggressive. What does aggressive mean to you is what I want to know. So it's like, dude, if you're gonna be aggressive, man, be aggressive. Let's every chance you get, give us something. Because we're all just, you know, kind of like, you know, twiddling our thumbs, being like, well, you know, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? So, all right, man. Thanks again for coming on. Appreciate it. And we'll probably talk again after Street Fighter 6 release and after June 8th, the gameplay trailer.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, for sure, dude. All right, later.
Yeah, take care.